Welcome to another edition of VLGA Connect. One of the great things I get to do on this program is meet the various commissioners around the public sector in Victoria, and it is a pleasure for the first time to welcome the Commissioner for Environmental Sustainability in Victoria, Dr Gillian Sparkes. Gillian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
Lovely to meet you. I'm looking forward to hearing a bit about your role. You're in your second term, as I understand it, have been the Commissioner since 2014. I guess you've seen a bit of change across that 6 years, especially now in the COVID-19 environment.
Oh yes, there's been change. In fact, from 2014, when I was appointed originally, led a reform in our own work, and have had the honour and privilege to be appointed again last year to continue to lead the delivery of statutory science reporting role of the Commissioner. So I'm very grateful.
Congratulations. Great to know you'll be around for a bit longer in the role. I gather from talking to you before we began recording, the early focus was on reform. Where do you find your focus now in terms of direction?
So the focus now is very much delivering on a very major statutory reporting program, science reporting program. So the reform really did refocus the office on our independent science reporting role and advice to government. We do science reports that then make recommendations to government and are tabled in the Parliament. So they're powerful in their authorising environment, and the science component is informing all the recommendations. So as a result of those reforms, the Commissioner has now been tasked with, I think it's about 7 or 8 we're up to at the moment, new science reporting, independent science reporting functions for the first time since the role was established in 2003. So since about 2016, they've been coming online. So one of those is very exciting. It's the State of the Marine and Coastal Environment, the first ever State of the Marine and Coastal Environment report, which will be produced and is tasked to the Commissioner under the Marine and Coastal Act from 2018. So that is our focus right now.
That I can just imagine is a significant piece of work, and I imagine intersects quite closely with local government, particularly coastal councils. How does that relationship work?
Absolutely. It intersects its local councils and coastal communities, coastal CMAs, etc., as well as the scientists are at the heart of this work. So we've just, as you can imagine, when you get started on a report, doing the first one is often more difficult because you're setting up the templates, developing the relationships, working with communities and stakeholders to understand what they're expecting. So with the Marine and Coastal Environment report, we're at the stage where we're just beginning. And in fact, next week, we'll begin our first round of consultation with local government on what the indicators are that we're going to report against. So indicators are important because the indicators we choose are the indicators which inform our recommendations, which then go to government and are the areas that government will see as priorities to act on. So we're literally starting next week with our first consultation, which will be with the Talk of the Tides group.
So the audience for this program is primarily local government or people interested in local government. Have you got any particular messages for the sector more broadly about how they can assist with or be more aware of what you're trying to achieve through your work?
Yeah, well, the Commissioner, as Commissioner, one of the forums that I have that's a requirement is the Commissioner's Reference Group, and the Municipal Association of Victoria are a part of that, and they also work in with the VLGA, etc. So we actually have a formal connection into the local government sector through that reference group, but we're much more widespread than that reference group. We engage much more broadly. And the first thing is to know that the Marine and Coastal Act of 2018 exists and that the Commissioner has worked with that, as do other parties. The Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning are doing work. There's CMAs are taking on coastal responsibility. So there's heaps going on, and there will be quite a lot of forums, I would imagine, for engagement, VLGA being a really important one. And that the work will be ongoing. So the Act means that although we do a report every 5 years, we'll continue to engage and improve what we're reporting on, what recommendations we're making to government. So I suppose my number one message is that the indicators and the work that we report on is what is the evidence base that informs our recommendations to government. So ensure you take the opportunity through VLGA and MAV and other groups to get involved.
Gillian, you're probably aware that the new Local Government Act 2020 includes some overarching governance principles, one of which is that councils have to have regard to mitigation and planning for climate change risks in their decision-making processes. Is there a role for you and your office in assisting councils or informing councils around those obligations?
We certainly, our reports and our advice and the work that we give and is made all publicly available on our website shows the latest science. So in terms of the climate adaptation plans and the work that goes in at a state level, we certainly are the collection of the science and the collation and synthesis of the science, which is available for us. But there is a role in the Commissioners Act that says that we can inform local governments on strategies, etc. So some of the work we'll be doing through this round of our work under the Science for Sustainable Development framework that we are developing all of our reports between now and 2023 will enable us to report on not only climate change impacts, but also trends and opportunities in adaptation. So we'll certainly be engaging with local government on those things and hoping to translate those strategies and support local government with those. My message, Chris, is we are where the science sits, the independent science for the state. So go to our reports and our websites and you'll find those baseline science reports on which to base your adaptation plans at a state level.
Excellent, excellent. That's really good to know. Before I let you go, as you mentioned, you're into your second term. What do you point to, I guess, as your proudest achievement of your time in the office thus far?
My proudest achievement is to have led a reform to introduce baseline science reporting for Victoria, independent baseline environmental science reporting. So the role of the Commissioner is to report on the environmental condition, state of the environment for Victoria across many ecosystems and regions. And before my term, we didn't actually have baseline science reports on which we can then monitor trends. We've now established those and we've broadened them to many more precincts. So Commissioner is now doing State of the Arrowitz Parklands, just received the State of the Great Ocean Roads report to do. We're doing the State of the Marine and Coastal report. We do the State of the Forest report. We're doing biodiversity target accomplishment reporting. So there's all these baseline science reports and trend reporting that are independent, evidence-based reports and recommendations to government that were never there before. So the reform has been successful in that regard and we're very proud of the work that we're doing and we continue to want to work with the community to make sure it's the mark.
Terrific achievements. Thank you very much for sharing that with us and all the very best for the work that you still have ahead of you in the rest of your term. We love having you on VLGA Connect and hope to be able to talk to you again in the future.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for the opportunity and I hope everyone's staying well and staying safe.
Same to you. Thank you, Gillian. Dr Gillian Sparkes, the Commissioner for Environmental Sustainability in Victoria, joining us on this edition of VLGA Connect.